Hello everyone, this is Chris O'Regan, also known as Kropotkin, here with you once again with an episode of Super Happy Game Time. This time around we're looking at F1 2009 for the Wii and PSP. The sport of F1 motor racing has had a very long relationship with video games. It started out in 1977 with Sprint, a black and white game that had a top-down view of a track with players controlling little sprites that resembled F1 cars as they skidded round the track, avoiding other cars and oil slicks. Things have thankfully moved on from those days, with the Pixies' Pit Stop through to the still celebrated Jeff Cramman's Revs and quartet of Grand Prix games. The sport has been a favourite of many a game developer. Since Jeff ceased making Grand Prix games, the F1 license has been passed from EA Sports to Sony, and now Codemasters have their mitts on it. Sony Europe held on to the license for quite some time and released PAL exclusive games up until 2007, where they made the excellent PS3 launch title F1 Championship Edition. Codemasters have taken on Sumo Digital to create what they hope to be the definitive F1 simulation in the form of F1 2009. The question is, have they succeeded? Well, kinda. In a move that I still can't quite fathom, Codemasters released F1 2009 on the Wii and PSP format, with a view to release the same game for the Xbox 360, PS3 and PC in 2010. Whilst the PSP has played host to an F1 game previously, the same can't be said for the Wii. Indeed, this has to be the most unlikely of formats to adopt for an F1 title. Codemasters, however, may be onto something here, as the Wii is starved of any decent racing sim. So this may be the very thing the Wii owning father of 2.5 children would like to see under their Christmas tree. Note that this review primarily focuses on the Wii version, not the PSP version, but we do also cover that as well. F1 2009 is very much a simulation in a traditional sense. The player takes control of a full-blown F1 car and competes in the F1 2009 season across the world against the current roster of drivers and teams. Having said that, the game is very accessible, with a full gamut of driving aids that allow novice drivers to make their way past the first corner. For the most experienced of us, such aids can be switched off, as well as other effects such as tyre wear, car damage and variable weather can also be toggled. The game is highly customizable in this regard, all to suit the tastes and abilities of the player. There are a variety of game modes on offer in F1 2009. The most complex and challenging is the career mode. This is where the player takes on the role of a fledgling driver who must earn their right to race amongst the great and good of the F1 circuit. They must work their way through 3 seasons. All of this is managed through an in-game diary and email system that tracks the player's progress as they race through the championship. Another mode on offer is the challenge mode that, as the title suggests, offer challenges a player to complete. Examples include Checkpoint, where the player must drive through a series of predefined gates on a track within a time limit between each one. Then there's Overtake. This is a throwback to Sumo Digital's Outrun games, where the player must overtake the most number of cars before they hit the finishing line. And then there's Scenario. This places the player in the middle of a race and they must do everything they can to finish the highest position possible. That's just a smattering of challenges involved here. There's many others. The last 2 single-player modes are Championship and Grand Prix. The former is where the player takes on the role of F1 driver and competes in a single season. Grand Prix mode is a single racing weekend event. The Wii version offers 3 distinct control schemes. Firstly, there is the Wiimote and nunchuck control method, with the nunchuck thumbstick used for steering. The second method is via the Classic or Classic Pro controller that uses the more traditional dual stick control scheme found on other consoles. The last is the steering wheel system. This is somewhat similar to Mario Kart on the Wii, where the player holds and tilts the Wiimote in order to steer. Once the game starts, the default view is third-person chase. something I'm not very keen on, as it doesn't give the player a sense of speed. I prefer the cockpit view, which is why most of the footage in this video is from this very view. The UI is relatively unobtrusive, with the speed and fuel gauge tucked in the right hand corner and a vehicle and wear damage slung over to the left. The all-important lap time and race position are on the top left and right respectively. F1 2009 uses the Ego engine. This is the same engine as Grid, Dirt and Dirt 2. When I first heard this, I feared the invisible spike that plunges through the car, forcing it to turn on a pivot that is characteristic of the Ego engine, would be present in F1 2009. Oddly enough, it isn't. Sumo Digital must have done some trickery with it, as the cars do appear to use all four wheels in order to turn. This makes for a very enjoyable racing experience, I have to say. The control method of choice for me was via the classic Pro controller. I found the motion control steering wheel method clumsy at best and would not recommend it. One final point to note on the controls is the inclusion of the KERS system, or KERS. This is the kinetic recovery system. This allows players to deploy a flywheel that increases the speed of the car for a short period. Kind of like a turbo boost that lets the player get out of the trouble if they're struggling against an opponent and they're right up behind them, or indeed they wanted to overtake someone. Speaking of other cars, the AI control cars are quite well done. They do show signs of human failings, but they do slavishly follow the racing line, unfortunately, which is somewhat annoying, and I wish racing games would just get over this problem. They do have errors though. They do find themselves smashing into the barriers and taking on corners too fast, but they also brake a little bit too soon, which is really annoying, especially when you're right behind them. As with any F1 game, the relationship with the pit crew is an important one. Sumo Digital has recognised this and have included radio chatter to the player as they race around the track. Everything from encouragement when they make a good time around a sector on a track, to remonstrating you for unsportsmanlike driving is muttered through the radio. It really does a great deal to add a touch of personality to a simulation that can be a tad soulless. Graphically, the game is surprisingly good, considering the platform it's running on. Yes, the Wii is still running on 2001 technology, but it doesn't appear to have hampered Sumo Digital's ability to wring from it some impressive looking visuals. My only gripe is that the Wii does appear to be struggling at times with noticeable dips in frame rate, especially when encountering smoke effects. The PSP version boasts all of the above features and sports a reasonable representation of what's shown on the Wii. That sadly does have the frame rate issues as well, which is a bit disappointing. But it is nice to see this full-blown game on a handheld system, which, quite frankly, is what the PSP is pretty good at. Is replicating the full console game and experience in your hand. Multiplayer is the thing that lets F1 2009 down quite a lot. There is no online mode at all. This applies to both the Wii and PSP versions, before you ask. The Wii uses a split screen mode, whilst the PSP offers ad hoc only. Now for the Wii, this could be forgiven. For the PSP, not having an online racing mode is a terrible omission. We can only hope that the ad hoc party mode that is coming to the PlayStation 3 will overcome this issue and allow F1 fans to play the game online with each other. All in all, F1 2009 is an excellent game. It should sit in anyone's game collection, assuming of course they have a Wii or PSP. It certainly bodes well for the forthcoming PS3, Xbox 360 and PC version of the game, which is said to be coming in the spring of 2010. For more videos, podcasts, blogs, reviews and articles, please go to shfts.com.